From the 7th and 8th centuries, the literary works of Catholicus Hovhan Otnetsi are of great significance. The product of his years of toil is a plethora of minutes, lectures, hagiological works, political tractates, and letters. His language is beautiful and rich, greatly influenced by classical Greek. Another literary figure of this time period is Hovhan Mamikonian. His book, History of Taron, is made of 2 volumes. The first volume deals with the work of historian and witness of Armenia's conversion to Christianity in the 4th century, Zenob Glak. That is, the destruction of the pagan temples in the region of Taron and the erection of churches in their places. The second volume is the history of Armenia, starting from Christianity to the events of the 8th century. The most notable aspect of this book is its simple and ordinary language, which is used in the narration of traditional tales and legends. The language of this book is a very good representation of the existing spoken language of the day. The work of the abbot Artavast, the hagiology of Vahan Kotsnatsu, is of significant literary value. This is the story of a hero martyr who was enslaved by the Arabs and taken to the Caliphate, where he adopted the Islamic faith. When he returned to Armenia after many years of absence, he denied his adopted faith and consequently was murdered by the Arabs. This book contains very poignant details, written with simple and lucid classical literature. The reader may encounter dramatically powerful and deep emotional excerpts. This work has many common features with contemporary novels. The Catholicus Hovhannes Trashaneti has a unique place in the historical literature of the 9th to 10th centuries. His work, called Armenian History, was written in beautiful and high-quality classical Armenian. This work contains folklore and colloquialism, which complete and enhance the value of this work, rich with the literary traditions of novels of Golden Age. Trashaneti related the Armenian history starting from antiquity until his time, the rich and prosperous period of the Pakratuni dynasty. Naturally, his work mainly deals with the sagas of the Pakratuni dynasty, with fictional and non-fictional elements intermingled together. Another significant work belonging to the same time period is the History of the House of Artruni, written by Thomas Artruni. This book related the story of the southern regions of Armenian upland, that is, Vaspurakan and the surrounding regions, where the Artruni family was the feudalistic ruler of the region. Although Thomas Artruni's work is somewhat biased, it does not cease from being a great historical and artistically rich literary work. His work has a great poetic style. He used representatives from the Armenian folklore. His style shares many similarities with the style of the 5th century poet and historian Yerish. From the eastern part of the Armenian upland, that is, Sunik, Artsakh, and Caucasian Albania, Movses Karankatsatsi's History of the Caucasian Albania comes to give a complete picture of the history of the Armenian upland, put forth by his predecessors, Hovhannes Trashaneti's and Thomas Artruni's History of Armenia. Like his predecessors, he begins the narration of the Armenian history starting from the Great Flood and the Ark of Noah tales relating the origins of the Armenian nation. Then he gives an account of the adoption of Christianity in the Caucasian Albania, the origin of the kings and noble families of this region and their history. His style is colorful and heavily dependent on traditional folklore. He wrote in poetic novel genre, which is again similar to the style of his predecessors. The 10th and 11th centuries are significant in the history of Armenian literature due to the works of poet and philosopher, the phenomenal Grigor Narekatsi. He is called Grigory Narekatsi from Van. He was and still is the greatest and unsurpassed literary figure of the Armenian language, who already enjoyed international recognition in his time. The proof is the translation of his masterpiece, the Book of Sadness, and others into many languages. Some European philologists believe that the roots of the global renaissance of literature are found in the works of Grigor Narikatsi. The Book of Sadness poem is a confession of sins by Narikatsi in a form of soliloquy with God. He is a master in analyzing the soul that is illustrated in powerful scenes and by the abundant imagery. The existing classical Armenian would not have done justice in describing his deep and abstruse inner world. Therefore, in his work we encounter new and innovative words, original colloquies, and new ideas which convey extravagance and richness to his work and make it the source of many coming literary works. The Armenian Church elevated Narikatsi to the ranks of saints. Armenians believe strongly about his book and are convinced that by reading his book many illnesses are cured. Even the illiterate people place his book under the pillow of the sick to speed up his or her recovery. His work was a crusade against the stagnant dogmas of the Church and the almost mechanical way of life. He succeeded in his quest and introduced secular, real, live, and the idea of love and appreciation of the worldly life through God, which formed the basis for the Renaissance thinking. From the Book of Sadness. Along with one severely affected by leprosy, me too, with mutilated soul, I pray to you. You can clean me if you desire, Lord, along with blind men who suffer groping in lasting darkness. I wail in a miserable voice, and rather than to call you Son of David, I do acknowledge your divine entity, Rabbi, which would assume the knowledge of the truth, but I hold you to be the Lord of earth and heaven. I crave, not only through the touch of your extended hand, O God, compassionate and proximal, but even at a great distance I shall be cured by the power of your word. I cannot tell between the possibility and grace, by using words expressing doubt, for you desire as the graceful, and have capacity as the Creator. Say only your word, and I shall be relieved. I join the faith of the centurion, trusting that, not at a short stretch only, as if it were from house to house, you can provide recovery and cure, but even seated in the heavens supreme, down below on earth you do miracles to perfection, which I can recompense with nothing. He has other works, which were written in the simple classical language. One example is the